Happy Monday, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boyd, founder of Live Life Fully, and welcome to Candid Coach Conversations. I want to welcome Teresa Anderson. Teresa, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Tell us about yourself. Let people know who you are.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm a licensed professional counselor and I am an intentional living coach with Live Life Fully. And I happen to totally love this lady right here. So I'm super excited to be in conversation today.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm super glad you're here and I love seeing your face. You and I have been talking a lot lately about joy and wonder. And I'm wondering, I guess to start, what does joy mean to you?
I think in your is joy looks different, right? It isn't fireworks, it's exhale. It isn't it's less performing, I guess, and more presence, I think. It's allowing myself to play again, even though I have so many things to do and lists of organized chaos that I have to attend to as a mother and a wife and a coach and a counselor. But I do love the idea of reclaiming joy in my 40s. And so that's been kind of the journey that I've been on recently.
I love it. When you say that you are an intentional living coach, I know that as an intentional living coach with Live Life Fully, that one of your missions is to guide people on that joy journey through intentional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Joy is saying no without guilt. Joy is letting your daughters see you alive and not just responsible. Healing your nervous system, adult play, laughter turning into light, all of those things.
When you talk about adult play, so give us some examples.
Well, I think adult play can come in lots of forms, right? And so, of course, an intimacy is a one way of adult play. But I think going back to like the reality of real play, like what is it like to feel like a kid again? To make sure that I reconcile that there's a golden hour happening outside and that there's bubbles sitting on my porch and that I love bubbles, or that I can take a moment instead of doing the rigorous work of the gym and choose to dance instead to my favorite Latino song, put on some vibes and just enjoy myself essentially. And I don't think it has to be uniformed in any way for everyone. I think it's going to look different for everyone. But for me, it's definitely about childlike wonder, I think.
And as you were talking, it made me think of a retreat that we had several years ago, and we had hopscotch.
So fun.
Yeah, when Sarah and I came up with hopscotch and we drew it out, we really thought people would toss the rock and whatever word it landed on in the hopscotch
Hmm.
tell a story about their life where it showed up. For example, if the rock landed on courage, they would tell a story about courage. And I know, Teresa, you were there. I was shocked. Sarah and I were both shocked that people were actually hopping and doing a whole hopscotch.
Exactly.
One of the most favorite activities and I think powerful. I think hearing from other people while experiencing hopscotch, childlike wonder and games through hopscotch, I think it was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Alive and happy, right? Joy happens when we stop negotiating and we
Tell
start
us
living
more
in authenticity. Well, I think it's less about like negotiating our authenticity, right? So to be more clear or more concise, essentially, I think the reality there is that we spend so much time playing roles and living labels and living out our lists and our organizational styles and our systems or our systematic thinking. And I think joy is reclaiming like that inner light. And what does brings that spark on? Where does that spark come from in you? Is it playing with animals? Is it being with your friends? Is it swinging at the park? I recently went to a balloon exhibit, a museum of sorts, and I actually played like a kid. They had these huge swings. I stayed in that room probably much longer than the kids that were actually there.
and kids are like, that lady's not leaving. She's not giving up the swing.
Thank God there was like 30 in the space. But yes, there was a room. It was a bubble room. And the ladies, there was these just beautiful, colorful bubbles flowing all over the place. These fans that were blowing them all over the place. You were like engulfed. And a room where bubbles are just flying everywhere. Balloons, they're like big balloons, but they look like bubbles because they're iridescent and they have these like neon lights on them essentially. So it looks like you're in a room full of giant bubbles and they're hitting you. The fans are blowing, but it is phenomenal. It was this phenomenal moment. And I looked over, and me and my girlfriend, who are both in our 40s, were laughing and playing and carrying on. And then we look over to the corner, and this kid is looking at us like, when are they going to be done?
Place.
It's called Pop, I think. It's a museum and it's only in town, I think, to the end of March. I want to say it's called Pop, but I could be wrong. But it is called the Balloon Museum, if in case I'm wrong on that part of it.
Wow. Okay, I've not heard of it, so I need to get out of my shell or wherever I have been and know more. That sounds amazing.
It was amazing. I would go on a weekday when kids are normally in school, though, because if it's really crowded, it's not as fun.
So you went, you had this experience, you were in the room longer than the children, and did you learn anything about yourself that day?
I think I realized how regulated my nervous system was and
Oh,
that adulting sometimes does drain me. And so I needed a moment where I didn't have to think about anything and I could literally just return to play and notice beauty and stop waiting for permission, essentially.
I love that. So it sounds like what you really learned is that when you're feeling overwhelmed or dysregulated, that you know you can turn to something childlike, that childlike wonder to
Hmm.
regulate yourself more. Maybe it's blowing bubbles or coloring. I love to color. That
Like coloring too.
does settle my nervous system
Yeah,
and it brings me such joy.
I love it.
Yeah. So if somebody you were mentoring said, I don't have a lot of joy in my life. In fact, I don't really know what joy is.
Hmm.
How do I get joy? If I don't even know what joy is or what it looks like or feels like, how do I get it? What are three things you would tell that person?
I would tell them that joy is a practice of attention. So, what we attend to grows. And then I would tell them that exploration is also okay. You don't have to know what brings joy in a moment where you forgot how to practice it. But part of joy is exploring what joy looks like for you. And so maybe it's giving yourself one Saturday a month to go on a field trip, to do something that you normally wouldn't do that seems a little outside of the box, but that little you would have probably loved 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, however old you are in that moment. I would definitely believe, I would definitely look to them to believe in themselves to be able to explore and find the thing that really just breeds passion and adoration for childlike wonder, essentially.
Love it. And, I think about that one Saturday a month. I absolutely love that idea. And in fact, on a weekend, once a month, I do a big month reflection. This doesn't sound joyful to some people. For me, it brings me tremendous joy to do a whole month reflection about what all I accomplished, what I've learned over the month about myself and about others, obstacles that I faced, and maybe I overcame them or moved through them. And maybe I'm still sitting back. So I do that once a month, and it's usually on a weekend. I'm at the end of the month where I really look at the whole month.
Mhm.
This idea too of taking a field trip. And then I think, of course, I'm thinking about, okay, what could be some pushback that people would give? And one thing that popped up is, okay, I don't have the money to do that. I do not
Right.
have the money to go on a Saturday field trip once a month. So that's not going to work. And then what would you say?
I think I would say, okay, so let's talk about what you have access to, right? Is there a park down the way? Are there some swings you can walk to? Is there a library or a cafe, or would you like to go on a journey of going through like little shops in a little town that wouldn't cost you anything essentially except for your observation and your time, right?
Mm,
I would ask, "What was your favorite song when you were a child, and can we put it on right now? What would it look like for us to dance to it for about 10 minutes and get that blood flow going and see how do you feel after that?" And then I would hope that that maybe would spark just a little bit more intention towards looking where they can find joy, even if there's a monetary issue.
so beautiful. So beautiful. I have to tell you what popped up when you said this. Oh my gosh. So we took a big road trip this weekend. And It was a fantastic weekend. So big road trip. There were 5 of us in our truck, and we finally get to the state, and there is a Drury Lane, Drury.
Okay.
So, Teresa, what pops up when you hear Drury Lane? Anything?
No, I just remember some old hotels, like, in the '80s and '90s labeled Drury Inn.
My gosh. Okay, yes, that's great. So, Andrew was driving, Damien was in the front seat, and then there were 3 girls in the back. So, I heard Drury Lane, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Muffin Man. We've gotta find the Muffin Man."
Oh my gosh, that is
So, Nicole says something about the Muffin Man, and so we ask her husband, "Do you know the Muffin Man?" And he says, "Who the hell's Mr. Muffin Man?" It was hilarious.
that is hilarious.
And then I was like, "We have to do it." So after one of the events, it was almost 9 o'clock, and I said, "Honey, please turn down. Let's go knock on the doors and ask, 'Do you know the Muffin Man?'" And he's like,
Mhm,
and everything in this town is so cute.
mhm.
Everything shuts down at 9 o'clock. So, oh, I guess this was our first night there. Yeah, it had to have been. Anyway, so everything shuts down at 9. He's like, "I don't think that's a good idea at night." And of course, Shantae, she's like, "We can't do that at night. It's 9 o'clock. People are going to shoot us." And I'm like, "Shoot us about knowing Mr. Muffin Man." And honey, just please turn it on the road. If we see a house with lights on, I want to go to the store and I want to ask, "Do you know the Muffin Man?" So he did
Mhm.
it on the street. It's not a very long street. And no one had a light on. I'm like, not only does the town shut down, these people are in bed 8:59.
Wow.
So we go back to the Airbnb, and then so Saturday, we were busy all day. So we all agreed on Sunday, as we were leaving town, we would go down Drury Lane, and if we saw anybody outside, we would ask them, "Do you know the Muffin Man?" Now, mind you, we're singing "You Know the Muffin Man" quite a bit over the 3 days. So Sunday morning, we don't even have to turn down the street. There's a man outside, and it's cold, but a man outside with his dog. So we roll down the window and we're like, "Hi, excuse me. Do you know the Muffin Man?" He's, "What? I can't hear you." So we start hollering, "I know who that is." And I said, "How do you live on Drury Lane and not know?" All 5 of us start singing it to him. It's so fun. All 5 of us turned into kids, and we're singing, "Do you know the Muffin Man?" Drury Lane, and this man,
I love this. This is great.
gosh, we had so much joy. We turned into kids. Anyway, it was so fun, and I'm so happy that there was a person living on Drury Lane that we got to ask, "Do you know the Muffin Man?"
I love that. And it was absolutely free. It was free. All it took was intention and exploration.
So funny. In fact, Andrew and I talked about it this morning. I was like, "Wonder how that man's doing it if he looked it up, like Google."
That is so funny.
It was so funny, and then about an hour and a half into the we were oh, so then we did a sing-along. So, we took turns picking a song, and we just went in a circle. The whole 9-hour drive, but add stopping for lunch, so probably 10 and a half hours. We did that pretty much the whole drive home unless somebody got a phone call. So, when it was Andrew's turn, one of the times, all of a sudden, here comes "Do You Know the Muffin Man?" Now we're listening to child tunes, but it was so fun because we all sang it again. Oh my, we
Yes.
had these 2 huge bursts of joy with the Muffin Man. I'm grateful for the Muffin Man. If anybody doesn't know the Muffin Man, let me know, and I'm gonna send you a muffin.
I love this for you guys. That's absolutely phenomenal.
So now I wanna know, like, where are all the Drury Lanes? Are there any Drury Lanes around here so I can go ask? It's so fun.
It would be you could even record these moments, essentially. They would be
I
fabulous.
wish we would have had yesterday on record. Oh, was so much fun. So I am gonna look up where are the Drury Lanes in Texas because 'cause there's gotta be some around here.
Surely,
Oh,
surely.
so you wanna join the Muffin Man adventure if I find some?
Yes, I'll go with you, absolutely. Let me know. We can bring muffins. We can even give them muffins.
I said that. I was like, "Let's go buy muffins and then we can" at 9 o'clock. I was like, "Let's go buy muffins and then we can go knock. And even if they're asleep, it'll be okay." And they're like, "Kimberly, there's not even a store open." Okay, well, no muffins then.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun
I love that. That is
as a
absolutely
child.
incredible. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. These moments where we hit that spark and we feel like kids again in the back of the bus with our friends, laughing, enjoying life. and without a care in the world, essentially.
Yes.
And I think that's what adult joy can look like if we allow ourselves in those kind of moments.
Uh, I totally agree. Oh, Teresa, I am so glad you're here today, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. I am curious, is there a takeaway that you want people to leave with? Let's say a
I
take.
would say look for high vibration energy and reconcile when you are in those moments. When you are feeling like there's a high vibrational energy around you, whether it's the friends that you're with or something that you love doing, or you're around kids and they're just breeding joy. I want you to notice those moments in life. Like when you actually feel connected to that deeper energy that is it's high vibrational, and that's the only way that I can describe it because it doesn't weigh you down, it's not heavy, it's very light, it's very opening, and it almost is the exact moment that we're looking to curate here. And so I want people to be a little bit more intentional about when you feel that way, when you feel like a child or you feel childlike wonder or joy in your life.
Beautiful. I love this topic. My gosh. Okay. Well, thank you again for being here, and I hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye.